It's my pleasure to rise to support all of the amendments in this group so ably introduced by the Noble Lady Baroness Thornton, and I would like to thank her for tabling a couple of amendments, 18 and 28, to which I was pleased to attach my name. I'd agree with pretty well everything that's been said, but I do particularly want to highlight the contribution of the Noble Lady Baroness Hollands. Because as she was talking, I was thinking about some testimony I heard earlier this week at the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Art, Craft and Design in Education. And a teacher was saying that if my educational provision caters to the most vulnerable pupil, most disadvantaged pupil in my school, then that means it's catering the best to everybody. And it might be thought that having the representative representing the interests of people with autism and learning difficulties is going to affect the care that those people receive. But I think it would actually greatly improve the care that everybody would receive. And I think that's something that's not adequately understood very often. Now, as the Noble Lady Baroness Thornton said in introducing this is really two subgroups. And going from 18 to 30, what we're essentially talking about here, as the Noble Lady Baroness Bakewell was just addressing, is the need to avoid corporate capture of our NHS. And we already have. The corporate sector has already won many battles and taken over a great deal of our NHS. And if profit is why things are being run, then care has to suffer. Care is the second priority. That is just an unavoidable fact. And if we look at privatisation, and I have later amendments that will address particularly the care sector, we see where this has been allowed to extend to great extremes, where the private equity sector has taken over our care system at enormous cost to the quality of care, to public and private pockets, and is in a state of continual near collapse. And we have to make sure that ICBs do not go down the route that our care sector has already gone down. And I don't think any of these amendments, and I'll be thinking about this for report, there's also a further issue, which these amendments address people's current employment and current roles. But actually, we also need to think about the revolving door situation, which I'm certainly seeing from social media. The public is increasingly concerned, where we see people flipping between the private sector and the public sector and taking the interests of one, and indeed just the direction of travel and the thinking from one into another, and not for positive purposes. And just very briefly, I'm aware of the hour, just looking at the second subgroup of 37 to 41 and about who should be there, that really relates to some comments that I made in the previous group in terms of, we can't just say in terms of managing the NHS, oh, just leave it to the doctors, just leave it to the experts, they know about care. Of course they do in running the services, but in making choices, in making allocations, in ensuring that the ICB meets the needs of its community, it's the community that knows what the needs are, and it needs to tell the medical people what needs to be delivered, the shape of that delivery, and then the details, the technical details, come down to the medical people. So I think it's absolutely crucial that we don't see this as a technocratic place for people with MBAs and doctors, that we do have trade unionists, patients, particularly carers. I think that's particularly important because our current system does so poorly in meeting the needs of carers and supporting them. So we need bodies that truly do serve to represent the community.